Good Wednesday morning.
Hey man, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing really good. I'm just thinking as we're coming on. We always say we're doing good, we're doing well, and I don't want people to think that we're here like rabble rousing and say yay, yay, yay. But the thing is that it's the attitude we bring up. We have a discussion before we come on, and we talk about helping each other and helping others and what we can do, and it kind of builds up, our feelings. Would you agree with that, man?
I agree with that. Definitely builds up confidence and positivity, in terms of helping each other out, being there for each other. One of our viewers yesterday sent me a quick quote. It says, use your voice for kindness, use your ears for compassion, use your hands for charity, use your mind for truth, and use your heart for love. And in this time, I think that really just resonates well through everything that we've been doing and trying to help other people.
That sounds like a poster to me. That sounds like something I could put up in my house. I mean, I frame it. That's great. I love that.
Yeah,
I love that. So what's new in the world that's going by through Mark and Teaneck, New Jersey?
Not very much new here. As many of you know, I've been posting about a friend, Michael Goldsmith, who was very ill. Yesterday, we had a very positive day where they're starting to take him out of sedation and
That's great.
And hopefully, get him off the respirator in the next day or two, as long as everything goes well. So, we keep praying for him and keeping him in our thoughts, and him and his family, and everything we can do to help with our powers. Just keep doing it, everybody.
Yeah, that's fantastic, Mark. I mean, I know we've talked about that, and I've posted along with you. And for me, yesterday was a really good day. I had a broadcast live with Tom Ferry, which went really, really well. I thought it was really good. And
that was incredible.
What's that?
That was an incredible show.
Yeah, thank you. It was. I mean, it was usually when I do them without talking to people early, it doesn't go as well. But this one, we had a great 5-minute talk before. It was good. It was totally enjoyable. He enjoyed it, so it was good. So if anybody wants to look at that, you can see it on my personal page or on Real Estate Skill Builder group page. So it was a great article, and we're a great broadcast. We're going to be getting that out in pieces as time goes on as well.
Right. So let's bring in our special guest today. Awesome. We have Matthew VanFossen, CEO of Absolute Home Mortgage. Welcome. Good morning, Matt. How are you?
Morning, gentlemen. How are we doing?
Morning, Matt. Love the hat.
Thank you. Good friend gave it to me.
It's nice. I'm still waiting for my updated one. I only have like the old school one.
Oh, that's right, man. We got to get that to you. I think I'm going to have to. I have somebody else I have to deliver a hat to. So it might be this week, if not next week. So we have to deliver, and I have to throw it to you as I drive by.
You do that.
Maintain hat social distancing. That's what you got to do.
Yeah. It's physical distancing, not social. Yeah. But anyway,
right.
I digress.
So Matt, being the CEO of a very large mortgage company in multiple states, tell us what is going on with loans these days. Are people able to get loans closed? Are banks still lending?
Yeah, so absolutely. Banks are still lending. We're actually still having record-breaking months. Last month, the month of March, we closed more mortgage transactions at Absolute than we ever had over a 30-day period, and we did it while our staff was working remote 75% of the time. So that was a truly amazing accomplishment. So credit is still flowing, but there still have been some adjustments due to the pandemic. You've definitely seen not necessarily regulatory or law changes other than the CARE Act, and has to deal with forbearance and mortgage payments. And we'll talk about that in a little bit, but you've seen the secondary mortgage market pull back. So, the advice out there for agents would be check your pre-approvals, check your pre-qualifications. What was pre-approved in February and early March may not apply. We've seen a lot of mortgage companies pull back and put in what's called a credit overlay, where it still meets general guidelines, but they're unwilling to lend. So government lending like FHA, VA, USDA, the loan programs typically meant to help people for low down payment, low income, low credit score. A lot of these programs you are seeing to start disappear. For example, we at Absolute used to be able to do FHA loans down to 580 credit scores.
Right.
Now our minimum credit score is a 640 for an FHA transaction. Not because we necessarily wanted to make the change, but because our investors in the secondary mortgage market said, hey, we're not going to purchase any government securities under 640 credit scores. So you're seeing a lot of people make changes to how they calculate income. For example, you can't carry rental income on an investment property or a multifamily. When you think, well, why would they do that? It makes sense because all these forbearances, a lot of tenants are not going to be paying rent. So you can't use that forecasted rent to qualify for a new mortgage because there's a high likelihood you may not get the rent, which would increase your likelihood of default. So you're seeing a lot of risk-based decisions in the mortgage industry. But if you have good credit, you have equity in your house, you want to refinance, there's definitely access to funds out there.
Right. And what about people who are in their homes right now who are hearing the word forbearance or don't have to pay their mortgage right now? What did you advise to them in this situation?
So it's a difficult thing, right? Because our economy is only so strong. And if everybody in America ran to take advantage of forbearance, I can guarantee you that we'd start seeing a collapse that would make the 2008 crisis look small, right? So we don't want everybody in America to run to get a forbearance. The CARE Act, which was the law that was passed through the House and Congress, states that Americans that are showing distress and are certifying that they are having financial distress because of this current pandemic qualify for a no questions asked forbearance. The problem is most people do not know what the word forbearance actually means. It is not a payment holiday. A payment holiday is when your payments are forgiven. I'm going to miss 3 mortgage payments and I never got to make them again. That's not what's going on here. So let's say my mortgage was $2,000 a month, right? That's my mortgage payment. Well, I can request a forbearance for the next 3 months or the next 6 months. I don't have to pay that money. But what happens at the end of the 6-month period? Now I'm due $12,000 in one lump sum. I owe them $12,000. So if I don't get my job back and I don't save up my money and I can't pay that lump sum at the end of my forbearance, there's only one thing they're able to do, which is modify you. Now you have to tack those payments onto the back of the mortgage and go through a modification procedure, which is it could push you another year behind in your mortgage payments. You're then putting off how long it's going to take you to pay off your loan, and it could affect your future credit worthiness as well, because Fannie and Freddie look at a loan modification almost the same way as they look at like a short sale or a foreclosure, and you might not be able to apply for a loan or a purchase for a year or two after this modification goes into effect. So there's a lot of misinformation out there. I think that the best way to put this is if you have the financial means to make your mortgage payment, you have a good net worth, you have a good savings, you still have your job, and you don't actually have a true hardship. Not being able to swim in a pool is not hardship, right? Not being able to go outside and run, does it affect you? Yeah, but that's not hardship. So if you don't have hardship, don't request a forbearance. But if you've lost your job, right, you're pretty confident if you're a bartender or a server or something like that, that you're going to get back to work and you need just a small bridge right now to help you, then that's what the forbearance is really there for. So I would say it's not something to be taking advantage of, because all you're doing is hurting yourself, because you don't get free. It's not free money. You don't get free mortgage payments or free rent payments. You're going to have to pay them back.
So, there's a lot of, you just used a statement, there's a lot of misinformation out there. So there's people out there that are telling you, get a forbearance on everything, including credit cards, including other things, right? So what happens? Okay, so say you can pay your mortgage, but then there's not enough money left to pay your credit cards. That's going to go on your credit history unless you talk to the credit card. I mean, what do you do? I mean, if you can afford everything, great, fine. But there are people out there that maybe still have their job, or some small investors that have small properties that they're not getting rents. What do you think about that? What's your thoughts on that idea?
So it comes down to how adversely do you want to impact your credit. Unfortunately, this stuff takes time, right? So just because the law says that you can apply for a forbearance and get it, I haven't seen anything about forbearances on credit cards in the CARE Act, but I've only been focusing on the housing sector of it. So I only see rent forbearances and mortgage forbearances that are covered. So I would always say pay your mortgage first. That was always the cardinal rule, because my utility bill doesn't hit my credit report, right? My car payment hits my credit report. I don't pay my car 3 payments in a row. Well, guess what? It's going to get repossessed, right? Unless I apply for a forbearance with the lender. But if you're going to go out and apply for forbearances everywhere, right? And you don't have a plan on a financial plan on how to pay those deferred payments back when this crisis is done, I think that you're kind of kicking down the can down the street, and you're creating a snowball effect where you're going to have a large debt that you're going to have to try to settle, and that's creating even a more difficult facility.
A lot of consumers are assuming or hoping that there'll be some type of government relief or plan in action for all these forbearances that are being put in place, and that somehow they'll get a bailout, or it won't affect them as heavily as we'll say it's going to.
Right. I hope there is. I hope our government does come up with a solution for that. But right now, today, there is no solution to it. They just said, hey, we'll grant the forbearance, but there's no regulation that's been put in place on how to mitigate the after effects for these borrowers. So it goes back to, if you have the means, do it. Pay your minimums on your credit cards and pay your minimum on your mortgage payment, and try to keep everything intact as much as possible, because if you let it get out of control right now, today, there is no solution for that other than paying it, right? And you're going to destroy your credit along the way.
Right. There are those experts that are coming out and saying, do the 3 months, and then at the end you apply for, putting it at the end of your mortgage. Sure. They're not talking about modification. They're not talking about a change or any kind of work that has to be done. They're just saying, okay, we'll just have you sign this document that says we're going to put it at the end of the mortgage, and it's going to be a balloon payment at the end.
Right. So the problem is, unless we get CARE Act 2.0 and they actually cover in that law how to do these modifications, like a streamlined modification process, right now, the only way to modify a mortgage, because what's a mortgage? It's a note, right? It's a signed note that's on file with the township against the deed of that property, right? It's a titled lien against the property. Right. The only way to put those 3 payments on the back is to modify it. That's the only method you can. You need to pull that old note, right? Take 3 payments, tack it on the back, and have them sign a new note. That's a modification every which way, and that's the only way our industry knows how to do this legally, unless the government comes out with some streamlined method. But right now, they're not even focused on that. They're saying, hey, we'll deal with that problem 3 months from now.
That's exactly correct.
Yeah, so that's why I'm advising not to do these forbearances, because if you can't make that payment, it's a loan mod, and unless laws change or we get new regulation, that loan mod's going to affect future credit worthiness.
Right. And how are the banks, if all these people are doing these forbearances, how are the banks going to keep up with all the tax payments that are due to the townships?
Well, it's a serious question, right? Because this is the trickle down effect of our economics and our system, right? The banks have to cover these mortgage payments. The mortgage payments have this township escrows in them. If the banks start failing and the banks can't cover the mortgage payments because there's no credit outlet via the government to cover the mortgage payments, they're relying on the bigger banks to really cover these payments for people. The smaller banks might have trouble making the payments. The townships aren't getting their tax payments, and we might have a little infrastructure problem there with our townships, because obviously their revenue is going to go down exponentially. If 10% of the people in town aren't paying their taxes, that's going to have to affect police forces, municipalities. It's the trailing effects of these forbearances. So, it goes back to that thing is, everybody's got to kind of do their part to try to make their payments and reserve these forbearances for the people that really, really need them, because they've lost their jobs and they've been really affected by this pandemic. A lot of people still, I know the unemployment numbers are high, but there's still a lot of people that are actively employed, working from home. And I think we're blessed. I try to look at the positive. If this pandemic happened 25 years ago, we wouldn't be able to do meetings like this, right? What happens if this pandemic happened in 1995? You remember what working was like? We barely had computers on our desks, right? We
barely had phones too, cell phones.
Right. We're better equipped to handle this pandemic now in 2020 because of technology, and have saved a lot of jobs because of it. It's horrible that a lot of people have lost their jobs, but the vast majority have still kept their jobs, which is good.
Well, most of the unemployment numbers are people within the service industry or some type of, server or host or, restaurants and hotels. And, a lot of those numbers, I mean, Vegas is closed, Disney is closed. I mean, we're talking about, tons of people who support those businesses as well are all out of work. So, that's really where it comes down to. And I think once we get back to working again and everything starts opening up, those numbers will go down quickly.
Yeah, it comes down to how quickly are we going to adjust as a society, right? Will it take us? It's not a light switch, right? They're not gonna say, okay, our social distancing rules have now stopped, the stay-at-home orders are done, and I don't think everybody's going to start running into restaurants and start being around each other. Inherently, it's going to take several months for us as a society to go back to normal and adjust to being in large groups and stuff like that, and that's going to be dependent on that service industry, right? I don't know if Disney opens up, in 30 days, if they're gonna be at 1 million visitors a week, in 2 weeks. You just don't know.
Who has money then to go on vacation if they're in forbearance on their mortgage, right? So it's really trickling down to, the entire economy is going to take months to recover from this because of all those employees that don't have jobs right now, and people aren't just going to spend discretionary money right now if they know they need to now have a bigger safety net and save money so that if God forbid something happens again, they have some type of safety.
But you also are going to have this counter effect to that, Mark, of people that do have money, have a good savings, and they've been locked in the house for 3 months.
Right.
And they're like, hey, I'm going to jump on a plane right now. I need to get on vacation. I need to go out. I need to go buy this.
Right.
I need to go buy a new car. And there could be a snapback as well for people that did stay employed. So we're hoping that kind of counteracts it as well, that people are so cooped up.
Listen, especially if the camps are canceled and the kids are home all summer, I guess families might look to go on vacation and see what's open up so that they can get out of the house and do something.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, it's all about the people. It's all about their attitude. It's all about the makeup of their relationships with what they're doing and their relationship with themselves. I mean, that's really a personal and more of a social thing and a psychological thing. I mean, for me, it's just, I mean, for most of us, we've got some interaction, so that's helping us. For me, honestly, going out for a good meal or cooking a good meal is what I'm looking forward to. And you know what? Honestly, that's really all I need. But a lot of people are a lot more, like you said. They're going to be ready to rock and roll. And there might be a snapback, as you said. And I agree with that. People are going to go out maybe it's like a shopping spree to Nordstrom's. You don't know.
Right. So, Mark, I got a question for you. Okay. Yeah. We, as you know, I love you to death. I think you're one of the best agents out there. We travel, we do all this great stuff together. I told you I want to buy a campus for Absolute Home Mortgage, right? Yeah. Next 5 years, I want to go get hundreds of thousands of square feet on a huge commercial property, right? And set up a massive campus for my company.
Right.
Has this pandemic changed my mindset about commercial real estate? I am now operating 100% remotely. How does this affect commercial real estate and how business owners look at these properties now?
So I think for sure you're going to reevaluate how you want to build your campus. I still believe you're going to do it because your campus is not necessarily just for employees day to day, but it's going to be a meeting point for the industry and a leader in the industry to have those offices and services. But overall, I believe there's going to be a lot of businesses that are going to realize they no longer need the amount of office space they have. They don't need the staff working in the office. They can hire people everywhere else. I spoke to one of my friends who is an attorney who has works for an attorney who have offices all over the country, and everyone's working from home right now. They're going to get rid of a lot of their office space. They're going to have hubs, but they're going to let people work from home or work from Regus spaces and not have to come into an actual physical office in the major cities. And they're going to downsize at the next lease, he said. So that's interesting to see, like a law firm, who really wants to keep everyone together. They have like 3 floors in one building, I know, in Manhattan. They're going to consolidate because they don't need it because people are working from home and they're being just as productive, if not more productive.
Well, but be careful with that because we've seen that too. We've seen productivity spikes amongst our employees go up by almost 30% now that we're working remotely. Right. But we said, whoa, let's not get too excited because let's not forget they can't leave their house. So their choices are either hang out with their spouse or make money and do work. So they're like, So because we got them trapped in their house, they are tending to work a lot more. So I think that some of the productivity increases that we're seeing of having people work from their house are also being counteracted by the fact that they can't even leave their house. So
think about this: if you're based out of Manhattan, right, and you hire a executive in Manhattan at $250,000 a year, or you hire an executive who lives out in the middle of America and you can pay him $150,000 a year, you now save $100,000 because you let him work remotely and he'll come to New York when he needs to come. You're still going to save money. So
Sure.
There's a lot of layers here that each business is going to have to figure out how they want to operate. But I think we will see a decrease in office space in the near future as people reevaluate what expenses they want to spend money on.
Yeah, so Manhattan's an interesting thing, right? It's an indestructible real estate market. It's one of the only markets that during the 2007-2008 crisis, the market value of residential and commercial real estate didn't go down, it went up, right? So now in post-pandemic, right, terms, Manhattan might be hit harder because of exactly what you're talking about. A lot of executives may not want to commute into the city for the next 6 months, right? So these companies might say, hey, our top tier executives that we usually bring, from New Jersey and the tri-state area, bringing them in, we don't want to do that anymore. We don't need the space. We need to downsize, and we're not willing to pay the premiums for Manhattan commercial real estate because we might not need it.
Right.
And it's interesting to see how that might get affected. I mean, let me ask you a question. Would you want to go into the city right now?
No, I wouldn't want to go into the city right now.
No. You barely want to go outside on a windy day because you're scared a breeze is going to come over from it. It's horrible what's going on Manhattan Island right now, and that's going to resonate with people for a long time. So I'm really interested.
The retail also, because everyone's now shopping from home and getting used to it more and more. We were already doing it as a culture, but now even more so. So the question is, are the retail shops going to still have as much square feet as they have now?
I don't think they're going to. I mean, you're going to see malls, I believe, I'm going to say in 5 years, be 30 to 40% vacant, and you're going to see that being transitioned into residential space. And not only that, let's talk about the downtown. I mean, the retail space, I believe, will increase and be much better in downtowns because people are still going to want the service, but they're not going to need to go to the mall. They're still going to buy online and stuff. Look at
the direction the malls are going now. Garden State Plaza announced a year ago they're redeveloping the mall into a live, work, shop, eat type situation where we're seeing the decline in retail. So they were going to rebuild it and rebrand it and redesign it to have apartments, office space, more restaurants, and park space in addition to the shops, and making its own little village in order to keep it successful.
Yes, they're going to call that downtown Paramus, and it's also is there going to be a need for real estate offices?
Right. Who knows?
Well, companies that have virtual aspects to real estate, right, are going to really have a competitive advantage here. I mean, that's the truth, right? Because they're already set up. They have it's a lower overhead, and a lot of agents just are not going to use the office. What about technology in real estate, right? You guys know I love technology. We've been working on a technology to automatically unlock doors for people that have certification keys.
Right.
Are we going to start seeing the ability for virtual showings maybe? How is that going to be affected in our technology in real estate and how agents interact, right? I'm sure you've seen sellers are not as willing to have scheduled showings right now. They don't want people inside their house, and I don't blame them.
Correct. Right? They want to use the videos and pictures, and if they're vacant, then we'll do a tour of it, but they don't want people in and out of their houses right now.
Yeah, so, so it's definitely going to be interesting. I mean, if the house is vacant, it's not an issue, but the vast majority of our listings are not vacant. People are still living in them. So, this is really, I think, for the rest of our lives that we're going to look back at these couple of months and we're going to look and say, oh, wow, how did this change us as our economy? How did it change our day-to-day lives? How did it change, our consumer spending choices and stuff like that? Because it will be affected, and we will feel the pain of this for a while.
Right. So let's flip the switch a little bit and talk about what we're all doing in terms of our mental health while we go through all this, right? So mental health is super important. We got to stay focused and motivated, but what are we doing to keep our mind and bodies in sync in order to be able to keep working? I know that, when nice days out here, I'm going for walks and bike rides with my kids. But, what are you all doing in terms of keeping your mental health straight?
Well, one of the things, what I'm doing is I'm reading a lot more. I'm going outside and reading. I'm actually having a drink with friends 6 feet apart. So making those kind of dates and either meeting them at their house or mine. Just did that with a buddy of mine the other day, just to keep my mental health going. Right. And taking rides. I mean, exercise is paramount. Mm-hmm. And I took a long ride the other day. I don't have a bicycle. I wish I did, but that's something that I'm doing, and it's helping me a lot. And also FaceTime, Zoom meetings with my kids and other friends. That's been helping me. Matt, what about you?
I think I've been taking social distancing to the extreme. I decided to evacuate Jersey, and I headed up to Vermont. So I have a cabin up here, and I've been focusing on trying to get into a very locked in regimen. So a exercise regimen, and there's not a lot of people up here in Vermont, which is nice. So it definitely helps with social distancing. I can go out for jogs. I'm running every morning, hiking in the afternoons, doing a lot of bike rides. It's amazing. I was cooped up in a townhouse in New Jersey. Before I came up here, I did my 14-day quarantine to make sure that I didn't want to spread anything, just in case I was asymptomatic or anything, because I'm always in and out of the city and stuff like that. So I did that, and I was feeling very stressed out on the way up here. And I went out into the wilderness for a day or two, and when I came out, I completely felt fine. So I think that while you have to maintain social distancing and these stay-at-home orders, going outside and getting some fresh sunlight on your face and just breathing some fresh air in, it's really, really important to health and breaking up your day, right? I'm sitting at a laptop all day long. Usually when I'm in the office, I get up, I get a cup of coffee, I go talk to somebody, right? I'm not just sitting there zoned in the laptop. So I try to take every 30 minutes, I'm taking breaks, I'm doing push-ups, different things to get my body physically active. I think that the best way to counteract a pandemic is to be the healthiest person you can be, right?
Right.
And that's really, really important, right? Building up your immunities, making sure that your body is working the best possible. And this is a respiratory illness. Right. Building your lungs through exercise is very, very important, unless you're already showing symptoms. I'm not a doctor, but
right. So listen, at the end of the day, we all got to do what's best. Keep healthy, keep focused, keep working. There's a lot going on all around us. Maybe social media isn't always the best form of relaxation these days, and maybe you should get outside, get some fresh air when it's nice out. Talk to friends, help each other out. That's really what the focus is, and that's what we've been doing the last few weeks.
Yeah, it's just different, and we're assimilating to it.
Right. So, Matt, I want to thank you for coming on today.
Thank you, Matt.
Insights with us. I appreciate it.
No problem. Anytime.
To all our viewers, happy Passover.
Happy Passover, everybody.
The holiday as much as you can. Happy Easter. I will not be on the next 2 days. Dave will be hosting without me. I'll be celebrating Passover with my family. But happy Passover, happy Easter to everyone. Enjoy. I'll see you all Monday morning, and Dave will see you tomorrow morning.
Right. We're going to talk about employment, unemployment. We're talking about some labor stuff. We're also going to have some special guests on in the next couple of days. So please don't forget to join at the same time. It will be on my channel and shared over to Mark. It'll be fun, just like it is every day. Matt, thank you so much. Very valuable information, and you clarified a lot of points. Thank you.
No problem, guys.
Thanks
so much for having me on.
All right, take care.